Famous athletes who were accused of doping. In the history of sports, there have been a number of athletes who entered the infamous list quite a few times for their wrongdoings or mistakes.
But a man who's judged to have cheated
was going home before it had even begun after a failed drugs test.
The urine sample of Ben Johnson was found to contain the metabolites banned substance.
Y bueno, vayamos con el momento mundialista. En este caso de...
I made a huge mistake.
Well, I guess athletes are human too, and it is all right to lose yourself in the way and go to extremes to make sure they don't let go of the fame and success they earned through their hard work. But in this video, we will be taking a look at the top 10 famous athletes who were accused of doping and might have become infamous for the same at some point during their careers. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at the top 10 famous athletes who were accused of doping. Number 10, Maria Sharapova. Maria Sharapova has a history that is associated with Meldonium at the Australian Open in 2016. And what exactly is Meldonium? Meldonium is a heart medication that had been added to the World Anti-Doping Agency's WADA prohibited list on January 1st, 2016. Sharapova had been using it for about 10 years, but she claimed she was unaware that it had been newly banned. Now, was that really true? We will never know. But Maria faced the consequences of her actions. After testing positive, Sharapova was provisionally suspended. She held a press conference in March 2016, admitting the positive test and accepting responsibility, but stated that she did not intend to break any rules. Not only that, the International Tennis Federation, ITF, initially handed Sharapova a 2-year suspension in June 2016. Although the ITF accepted that she had not intentionally committed a violation, the organization held her responsible for not properly monitoring changes to the banned substances list. Number 9, Tyson Gay. The year is 2013. And it was July when Tyson Gay was meant to make Usain Bolt sweat in the 100-meter dash at the Moscow World Championships. Instead, Gay pulled out from the tournament for testing positive for a banned substance. By May 2014, the American was banned for a year and forfeited the Olympic silver medal he won as part of the United States 4x100 meters team in London. This was definitely shocking for the sporting world, but it was Gay's cooperation with the authorities and the United States Anti-Doping Agency that worked well in favor of Gay getting a reduced sentence. In the end, Tyson Gay received a 1-year suspension, which was relatively lenient compared to the usual 2-year ban for first-time doping offenses. Number 8, Diego Maradona. Number 8 on this list is one of the greatest football players of all time. A player not just on the field, but off the field as well, Diego Maradona. Maradona had one colorful life. And by colorful, we hope you know what we mean.
Tight, yeah!
Let's rewind to the 1994 FIFA World Cup, shall we? By the time the 1994 World Cup came around, people thought Maradona was done and dusted. But the Argentine scored a goal and an assist in first-round victories over Greece and Nigeria and showed some of his dazzling dribbling form of old. Until the match against Bulgaria, because just 6 hours before Argentina was to face Bulgaria, Maradona was removed from the World Cup because he had tested positive for 5 variants of ephedrine, a drug used to increase energy and alertness and to lose weight by speeding up metabolism. And well, this became the one stain in Maradona's glorious and beautiful career. Number 7. Anderson Silva. In his heyday, Anderson Silva was untouchable. The former UFC middleweight champion's 10 straight title defenses speak for itself. He was widely considered as one of the greatest fighters of all time, then destroying everything he had ever worked for. The Brazilian tested positive for steroids in January last year, following his unanimous decision win against Nick Diaz at UFC 183. Silva tried to blame the failed drug tests on a sexual enhancement drug a friend gave him, but the Nevada State Athletic Commission didn't want to hear any of it. He obviously faced the consequences of his actions as the doping scandal tarnished Silva's legacy to some extent, with critics questioning whether PEDs had played a role in his earlier success. After serving his suspension, Silva returned to fight again in the UFC, but his career was never the same. He had to endure several losses and was never really able to make the same sort of impact, and he soon transitioned into boxing. Number 6, Roy Jones Jr. In the year 2000, A few days after Roy Jones Jr. defeated Richard Hall to retain his undisputed World Light Heavyweight Championship in Indianapolis, he tested positive for the testosterone precursor androstenedione. The drug is used to increase muscle strength and mass and to shorten muscle recovery time, and it looked like Jones was now in trouble with the authorities. Androstenedione was a drug that had become infamous after baseball player Mark McGwire was found to be using it during his home run chase in 1998. But in Jones's defense, he denied knowingly using any illegal substance and claimed that he had unknowingly taken an over-the-counter supplement called Ripped Fuel, which contained androstenedione at the time. And he said he consumed it citing energy and fuel-boosting reasons. However, despite testing positive, no major sanctions were imposed on Roy Jones Jr. at the time. The Indiana State Athletic Commission did not suspend or fine him, and his victory over Hall stood. Number 5. Ben Johnson. Number 5 on our list is track and field athlete Ben Johnson. 48 hours after he left all others, including bitter rival Carl Lewis, tasting dust in the 100-meter dash of the 1988 Summer Olympics, Ben Johnson was stripped of his medal. He ran a then-world record time of 9.79 seconds, but was found guilty of using stanozolol, a water-based steroid similar to the male hormone testosterone that could be taken by athletes to increase muscle mass, which can enhance an athlete's performance. Johnson was banned from the sport for 2 years and returned in 1991, but never regained his former glory. Not only that, he later tested positive for steroids again in 1993, which led to a lifetime ban from competitive athletics. Number 4. Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong literally spent years denying allegations of using drugs, but finally admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs in an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013. The man who was once considered a sporting icon said he used testosterone and human growth hormone, as well as EPO, which is a hormone naturally produced by human kidneys to stimulate red blood cell production. It increases the amount of oxygen that can be delivered to muscles, improving recovery and endurance. This really shocked the world as nobody could digest the fact that Armstrong was taking drugs. In 2012, the US, the anti-doping agency, USADA, released a comprehensive report that detailed Armstrong's involvement in the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. And what were the consequences of his actions? Well, on October 22, 2012, the Union Cycliste Internationale, UCI, cycling's governing body, officially stripped Armstrong of his 7 Tour de France titles and imposed a lifetime ban from professional cycling. All of his results from August 1, 1998 onward were never counted, and his reputation went down the hill too. Number 3. Shane Warne. On number 3 on this list is Australian cricketing legend Shane Warne. On the eve of their 2003 World Cup match against Pakistan, the Australian board called a press conference and announced that Shane Warne had advised them he had failed a routine drug test and would be returning home immediately. Warne tested positive for Maradona, a prescription drug widely used in the treatment of hypertension, high blood pressure, and fluid retention, but one that could act as a masking agent for steroids by diluting traces of the substance in the urine. And what was the ban like that imposed on Warne? Well, it was a hefty one for sure, as the Australian Cricket Board, ACB, and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. Warne was found guilty of violating the anti-doping code, and on February 22, 2003, Warne was handed a 1-year ban from all forms of cricket. The ban was backdated to the day he provided the positive test, meaning he would be eligible to return in early 2004. The ban led to Warne being prevented from participating in the 2003 Cricket World Cup, and kept him out of international and domestic cricket for the entirety of his suspension. Number 2. Shoaib Akhtar. Number 2 on this list is the fastest bowler in the history of cricket. None other than the guy known as the Rawalpindi Express. Pakistani legend Shoaib Akhtar. In 2006, a 3-man tribunal formed by the Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, found Shoaib Akhtar guilty of using the steroid nandrolone, which is used to aid recovery from injury and increase muscle size, strength, and power, while also increasing aggression. So now we know why Shoaib was also so feared by the cricketing world during his prime. The guy was absolutely phenomenal. But this led to a 2-year ban that was later overturned on appeal. While Akhtar denied any intentional wrongdoing and was cleared to return to cricket, the case caused significant controversy and criticism of the PCB's handling of doping enforcement. Despite the scandal, Akhtar continued his career and remains an iconic figure in the history of fast bowling. Number 1. Alberto Contador. And topping the list is none other than Alberto Contador. In September 2010, it was revealed that Alberto Contador had tested positive for clenbuterol, a banned substance, during a routine drug test on July 21, 2010, during the Tour de France, which he won that year. Now, what is clenbuterol, you might ask? Well, clenbuterol is a drug used to treat asthma, but also known to promote muscle growth and fat loss, making it a banned performance-enhancing substance in professional sports. Now, initially, the International Cycling Union, UCI, and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, both pursued the case, arguing that athletes are responsible for any substances found in their bodies, regardless of the source. But then, after a lengthy legal battle, the CAS ruled in February 2012 that Contador was guilty of doping and imposed a 2-year ban based on the positive test in July 2010. As part of the ruling, Contador was stripped of his 2010 Tour de France victory, as well as his win at the 2011 Giro d'Italia. This severely harmed his reputation, and his career was not the same. So these were the top 10 doping scandals that athletes found themselves in across every major sport. Which one was the most shocking according to you? Let us know in the comments section below.